Impossible could do the most amazing things. For example, he could jump over a house. You should try it. It's impossible. And Mr. Impossible could make himself invisible. All he had to do was stand there and think about becoming invisible. And he became invisible. You should try it. It's impossible.
I shall look at the face, so I will.
And Mr. Impossible could fly. All he had to do was stand there and flap his arms about, and he flew off. You should try it. It's impossible. And Mr. Impossible lived in an impossible-looking house. Have you ever seen such an impossible house? Of course not. One day, Mr. Impossible was out walking in the woods when he met a boy called William. William was on his way to school.
Hello. Hello.
Replied William. I'm William.
I'm William. I'm impossible.
Really? Said William.
Really?
Said Mr. Impossible. Can you do impossible things? Asked William.
Can you do impossible things? Said William. Haven't come across anything I couldn't do.
Replied Mr. Impossible modestly. William thought. Can you climb up a tree? Pointing at the biggest tree in the woods.
I can do better than that. I can walk up that tree.
And he did. William thought again. Can you stand on one hand?
I can do better than that. I can stand on no hands.
And he did. That's impossible, cried William.
True,
said Mr. Impossible. Then William remembered that he was on his way to school. Why don't you come with me, he asked.
Will you come with me? But I've never been to a school before,
said Mr. Impossible. Well, it's time you did.
It's time you did.
Come on.
Come on.
Okay then, let's go.
William and Mr. Impossible sat at the back of the classroom with all the other children. The teacher came in but didn't notice that there was an extra person in the class that morning. Good morning, children, said the teacher. Good morning, children. I have a very difficult sum for you today. It will take you almost all the morning to work out. And he wrote the sum on the board.
That's on my face.
It really was the most difficult sum William had ever seen in his life, full of multiplications and divisions and additions and other things William did not enjoy. The teacher was right. It really would take most of the morning to work out the answer, if not most of the afternoon as well. Mr. Impossible whispered in William's ear. William put his hand up. Yes, William, said the teacher. Is it something about the sum you don't understand?
Yes.
Please, sir.
Please, sir.
Said William. Is the answer 23?
Is the answer 23?
The teacher was totally, absolutely and completely amazed. Well, How did you work out that sum so quickly, William? It's impossible.
Nothing is impossible,
said Mr. Impossible from the back of the class and stood up. Well, I never did, exclaimed the teacher.
Whoa, you
After that, Mr. Impossible spent the whole day at school. He showed the teacher how he could read a book upside down. That's impossible, William. Sorry, Mr. Impossible. That's impossible, Mr. Impossible. And the children... Absolutely, said Mr. Impossible. Then William asked Mr. Impossible if he would like to go and play the school football match. Ooh, yes. Yes, please, replied Mr. Impossible.
I've never played football before.
And do you know what he did? He kicked the football so high in the air that when it came down it had snow on it. What an impossible thing to do. Then it was time to go home. Mr. Impossible said goodbye to all the people at school. Bye.
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 Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Okay, bye.
And said goodbye to William. Goodbye, Mr. Impossible, said William.
Bye.
Goodbye, William, said Mr. Impossible,
Bye.
and just disappeared. William rubbed his eyes and went home. William's mother and father were waiting for him. Oh, hi, William. How are you? Did you have a good day at school?
Yeah.
Who did you meet today?
Mr. Impossible.
Really? You're impossible, William.
But he just stand there and be invisible.
Oh, you're such a kidder, William. And 100 miles away, a small figure was listening to William's mother and father and what they were saying. And he grinned an impossible grin, and then he went to sleep, standing on his head, of course. We all know that's impossible. Turn around, kids.
Good.
Say thank you.
Thank you for watching this impossible video about me.
And thanks for watching the channel.